Welcome to Brevard News, your home for real news in Brevard County. My name is Kevin Jeffrey, your moderator. Be sure to share and subscribe to our podcast. This week on our episode of Brevard News, early voting and observations, development updates. We'll also look at info cards and follow the money. We'll also be looking at upcoming events. And our co-host for today, we have our favorite, Katie Delaney, who is running for County Commission seat District 1. Also our co-favorite, also our co-host, Ms. Stell Bailey, who is the publisher of The Advocate's Voice online. Now, this is our quote for this week, and it's from Teddy Roosevelt. Now, listen carefully to what he says. Patriotism means to stand by the country. It does not mean to stand by the president or any public official, save exactly to the degree in which he himself stands by the country. It is patriotic to support him in so much as he efficiently serves the country. It is unpatriotic not to oppose him to the exact extent that by inefficiency or otherwise he fails in his duty to stand by the country. In either event, it is unpatriotic not to tell the truth. Isn't that interesting? Whether about the president or anyone else. Now, we told you last week that it's not what's right or who's right, it's what's right. What's wrong with our country today is that we'll excuse behavior of people if it's not the people that we don't like. But we'll just allow that to go on, and it's not about what's right, it's who's right. And we really need to get away from that, right? And this is a real problem. You've seen it, Katie, in our country today, right?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I really try to stay very focused on the issues and keep the personal out of it because we have to separate the people from the issues.
And it's not nothing personal, right?
No,
And
it's
it's
not.
and so a lot of people will say, "Oh, you're just attacking." No, we're attacking the issues, right, Sal?
Correct. We always look at the facts and we attack the issues, and then they try to make it personal. And for me, it's not personal. I always separate personal, my friendships, from the job description. If I based my friendships on people's job descriptions, I probably wouldn't have many friends.
Right.
When it really gets sticky is when you have someone who is a friend of yours who's saying things that are not right. And what happens is that we in America continually give a pass to the people that are our friends or our family members, and they're on the wrong side of it. And you see that in politics,
Oh, yeah.
right?
Absolutely. We need to be willing to hold each other accountable,
Right.
regardless if we're friends, family, it doesn't matter. Wrong is wrong and right is right.
Right.
And if we're not willing to come to each other and help one another grow, to me that's growth. When we tell one another, "Hey, look, this isn't right what you're doing. Let's take a look in the mirror. Let's take a step back and reevaluate what you're doing right now." Um, I think that shows true character and integrity.
That's what's missing in politics, and we saw a lot of it in early voting this week. I mean, boy, being out there and you have to go and sit around in early voting and see some of the shenanigans that went on in early voting with some of the establishment politicians and some of the things that happened this week. We'll be talking about that more in the future. But what were some of your observations, Katie, that what you saw this past week?
Well, first of all, my favorite part was getting to talk to so many voters. That was great. Some of the things that shocked me was how few candidates were out at the polling sites. Um, for me, I just felt like it was a great opportunity to be able to be available to answer questions for people, to for people to meet me face to face, and I just I took full advantage of it. I was there every day and from open to close, and it was a really great time.
So what did you see still as you were out?
So this is my first year I've actually gone out and physically just sat around and observed what's going on at the polling stations from the candidates area, because they have to be so many feet away from the voting polls. And for me, I did see some underhanded tactics happening between candidates, and I feel like they're playing unfair, and to me, it's screaming desperation in certain actions that are being taken, and it's just like little things that add up. And I just feel people need to be more cordial with one another. They're all running in a campaign. Everyone understands that 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. daily, sitting out there, what it takes to run a campaign. And so observing, there's been some things just within, party lines that I'm seeing kind of occur that's disturbing to me.
Really disturbing, and we'll talk about more of that in upcoming podcasts. I mean, there's some really disturbing things going on in politics in Brevard County, and we'll actually alert you to that. But I mean, this was really an interesting time sitting there observing the people. What struck you about the people, Katie, as the people you were able to interact with them?
One of the things that really upset me was how hard it is for people to find information. Because, all the candidates have their websites and they put their stances on there. But frankly, I mean, I get where the people are coming from. People don't trust that the candidates are being truthful and honest. So they are frustrated with, how do I find out real information about who these people are? Because especially, like, for instance, in the Republican primary, there are so many Republicans running for a single seat, and not just in my race, but in many races. And so people were very concerned about, where do I find real information? And that's why I'm so passionate about this podcast, because I mean, I think that we do a great job of bringing forward current events and hot topics that people will be interested in. And this is now a document of a quick view of what are our politicians voting on? How is their voting record? And they don't have to sit through a 6-hour meeting to get that information.
You have that, and then you can go to the Secretary of Elections website, and you can look up each candidate and follow the money.
Right.
Look at who donated to who, and you will be surprised. And so you have all of these guys who have just taken money. They're on the take. They're taking money from all kinds of special interests, and that's a problem. That brings us to our development updates. And so we had an interesting thing happen in Titusville, and we'll talk about it in my 2 cents. Bristol development decision. All of a sudden, magically, 3 guys or 3 people on the Titusville City Council who normally votes for the developers, in an election year, they had a change of heart. Mm-hmm. Isn't that interesting, Stell?
Oh, it is so interesting. And the entire hearing was interesting, because you have these citizens that are walking up, and they're pulling out facts about, you have the attorney for the developer's wife donating to this person's campaign. Then you have the lobbyist on the project donating to this person, and this person. So they're really connecting the dots of what you just said, following the money.
Yep.
And they were relentlessly called out. They were even asked to recuse themselves. And I think there was so much pressure in that room that they really didn't have a choice. This would have been election suicide for them.
Right.
You could have actually foretold, Katie, how the vote was going to go, right?
Yeah.
Beforehand. Dan Diesel was not going to vote against Bristol, and he's over there, he's fawning we'll talk about that, with the people of Wendover. And so you could have seen how that was going to go, right?
Right. And I was so impressed with the residents of Wendover, because they were so informed on this issue. They came with Florida state statutes. They came with comprehensive plan excerpts. They were so informed, and just really they came to battle. And I was like, wow, this is incredible. The power of the people is a real thing.
And I just want to point out, there's this narrative going around that all these people are just anti-development. That is not true. We want development that goes with the community. Right. And I don't believe that developers should be able to come in and switch what something should be next to a community that doesn't fit with the community and the lifestyle of the community.
They're trying to cut the people out of the process as well. Right? Yeah, Sarah Stokel said back a couple of months ago, when the Florida Today article came out about the people protesting, she said, oh, they're just playing politics in a political year. Mm-hmm. Is this not what she was doing?
Right.
Do you think that she would have voted for this had there not been a political year?
Extremely skeptical of these votes. I feel like she wouldn't have voted
Right.
this way. And I hate to think that way, but I base a lot of my opinions on facts and following the money and digging into voter history and the certain alliances that are formed within the community. And when you're working that closely with lobbyists, whose sole job, by the way, a lobbyist's job, this is something that the community does not understand. So I think this needs to be clear. Their job as a lobbyist, they get paid to influence the decision making of the city council, of your government, in favor of their client,
And not the people.
not the people.
Correct. Correct. And so, and that's really been one of the problems.
We
Go
should
ahead.
look. We should keep an eye on this because they could bring it back up for a vote.
So they could actually bring it back up after the
They could.
primary
They could
and
amend.
actually change their vote,
Right.
right?
They could amend their request and they could bring it back up.
They wouldn't do that, right?
No.
We'll see.
We'll see.
Hog Valley, it was a good day for them as well,
It
right?
was.
What happened with Hog Valley?
So as you all know, Hog Valley, they wanted to take these 17 acres that was zoned for 3 houses and change that to 30 mobile homes. And luckily, the Planning and Zoning Commission decided to not approve that project, which really is a good thing because it takes 15 minutes easy to get from US 1 to where this property is. And it's not near public transportation. There's hardly any stores up in that area. It just doesn't make sense.
Is there any way we can know whether or not this was a election year decision?
Well, the Planning and Zoning Commission, they're not elected officials. So
Okay.
I don't think that really has anything to do with it. But the commission still has the choice on this project. So
And that's still coming up, right?
yes, September 5th. If anybody is willing to come to that commission meeting and speak against this project, the residents don't want it, and frankly, this property should not be changed in that way. So
Sherwood was approved for county planning and zoning, and that was in a negative way still, right?
Yeah, so you're on the other end of this now.
Right.
Sherwood,
Why,
they're
why
very
did they
disappointed.
why did they turn them down?
Sherwood, why
Yes.
did they approve it? They
Yeah.
approved it. I couldn't tell you why they approved it.
So when we say that they approved it for the developer
Yes.
Right.
against Sherwood.
Yes.
exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, so now that needs to go before the Brevard County Commission, so now it's in their hands.
Right.
And see, this is why it's so incredibly important to get people that actually represent the people, that will listen to the people, because I've heard from Sherwood. I actually had an influx of friend requests and people reaching out to me, asking me, about my thoughts on it, and then telling me, well, we had all these amazing ideas to bring forward as, different things. And one person said something about, well, allowing them to buy the property behind them. And so they've really
So
been
they were
trying
really
to navigate.
wanting to work
Yes,
with the
yes,
developer.
correct. And that's what's so infuriating about this, because if you would just have town halls and actually come together with the community and get feedback from the community and work together collaboratively, we wouldn't have these issues.
Right. Well, the thing with the Sherwood community is that they have had some town halls, but the thing is that the developer doesn't even own the property. That's the thing. The developer does not own the property yet. The sale is contingent upon this zoning change. And so I'm hoping that, because there are some people that are interested in possibly buying it. So I'm hoping that the seller would be willing to, meet with the residents and, talk to them about some other options. And my other hope is that on September 5th, when this comes before the commission, that they postpone this for the next commission, because the next commission will be the ones who will be dealing with this project. And so it's so controversial. They really should postpone this decision.
And as you say, the people they are not for this at
Right.
all. Info cards. So there were some info cards that were put out and somewhat controversial about who's getting money from whom. So we see that with Jordan, we see it with Diesel, we see it even with Katie, right? And so it's really interesting as you follow the money still. I mean, it really tells you a lot about who's on the take. And you talk about the lobbyists and their influence. you actually are seeing it there, right?
Yeah, correct. And so when I started this project of Follow the Money and digging through the contributions, first and foremost, I have an auditing background. And so I thought, how can I use my skill set to really inform the voters? My main goal was to inform the voters and to encourage them to dig a little deeper into not just the contributions, but their candidates, to go further than that surface, where candidates will just tell you, I care about the clean water. Well, are you taking money from people that counteract that
Correct.
statement? And
Correct.
so then it just started kind of unfolding, and what it is it's their contributions, their donations on a pretty piece of paper with pretty font and pretty pictures. It's all it is. It's all facts, but it
But
gives
you're
it a
connecting the
visual.
dots.
Yes.
And the other thing that was interesting was that it was illuminated that some of these contributors were using different names, or like using their first and middle name instead of their first and last name to try to hide their identity, it almost seemed like.
It's interesting, isn't it? And that you see people who are in government and they have a right to do it, who are donating to people who are running for the same office.
Right.
That was interesting. We have a guy on the county commission who donated $15,000 to diesel, and you ask yourself why. I mean, certainly he has a right to do that, and but the special interest money is really huge. I mean, with Robert Jordan, I mean, I think that he had over $200,000.
Right.
Yeah, and it's interesting because after I started releasing these info cards, you would have people in the audience asking about them,
Right.
saying, why are you receiving money from developers? And it really put them in a spot because instead of just owning up to it and saying, oh, I love developers, they kind of shied away from it and kind of beat around the bush and tried to get away from it and did their diplomatic response. And I think it creates this dialogue that now they have to address it.
Right.
Well, so Jordan was pretty flippant about it when
Oh,
he
he
was
was
asked
at
about
the
it at the
NAACP
NAACP forum. What was it that he said? He
Oh,
pretty much just said it's not that big of a deal,
yeah,
right?
He's,
And
he's proud of it.
he's
yeah,
proud.
he's proud of him, right? And so, yeah, and so, and now you know what that really ends up being is that they are more concerned about the lobbyists, and this is why you can stand at the Titusville City Council, you can stand at the county commission, and they're not listening to you
Right.
because they're not really paid by you.
Right.
In their minds, the developers and all the special interests are who they're listening to. I find it interesting as I've watched the Titusville City Council meeting. You just sit there talking, and it's like they're, okay, yeah, say your piece, but we're going to do what we want to do. Same thing with the county commission, and probably part of the reason is this: Babonic versus Tobiah. A new lawsuit is filed for a truth finder on Tobiah and its Valencia suspension. This guy is just getting deeper and deeper. How could this guy even have a chance of winning? His problems are getting deeper, right?
It
I mean,
is.
Valencia suspends him, right, because of this issue of him actually using government officials to grade his papers.
Yes.
Right.
Yes, I think this puts Valencia's their reputation on the line,
Right.
because they've got this professor that's having other people have access to all of his students' information and doing the grading of papers. I mean, to me, that puts their reputation in
But
jeopardy.
still, one of the things that was interesting is they suspended him with pay.
Right.
Isn't that kind of like a vacation?
It is. It's like there's
Should
no
they have done that?
accountability for these people. I
Right.
mean, you try to go to the FDLE, nothing happens. You try to go to the state and do ethics complaints, nothing happens. You try to make complaints to the Valencia, nothing. It's just when are we going to have some type of accountability here?
Right.
It's almost like a slap on the hand, isn't it, Katie? I mean,
Right.
this guy he's getting a vacation.
And especially when he's been accused to also drinking alcohol all day. So not only is he having his county workers grading his papers, he's possibly intoxicated while doing that,
And
which is
and then
just
he's
insane.
using Truth Finder
To
to-
stalk people.
to stalk people, basically.
So he's using government money
Yeah, right.
in TruthFinder to actually go after his opposition.
Yeah.
Right?
Which that's another lawsuit that's pending. The property appraiser is suing because he's not giving up those public records.
How is this guy running for office?
I know.
How does he even have an opportunity to win?
Right.
Babonic should win 80-20, it should be a blowout. If the people understood the kind of person this guy is, there should not even be a race. upcoming events, firefighter negotiations tomorrow at 10,
Yes.
10 a.m. What do you expect?
We both sigh.
Okay, what do you say?
We both sigh. We're just, this has been going on
Yeah.
for far
Yeah.
too long. These men and women deserve so much more.
Well,
I can
they
only
just
imagine.
got retaliated against.
Yes.
Their health insurance just doubled. So
Wow.
it's this is
Is this
it's
Frank
uncalled
Abate?
for. I'm sure there are many people who are
Look,
involved
one of the things
with
that we've
this. Yeah.
seen, but one of the things that we've seen that the players who are running Cocoa,
Right.
the county, and the city of Titusville are the managers, right?
It's
So
through
you have
good
the county
leadership.
manager for
Mhm.
Titusville who's running things. You have the county manager for the county who's running things, as well as Cocoa. So is Abate behind this?
Well, I'm sure. You know,
Yeah.
I don't know for sure. Like, I don't have anything, a paper that says so.
At the
He's-
bottom line,
he's the top of the
He
sphere.
makes the
you know?
decision.
that stops with him, right?
Right. Exactly. Leadership matters.
It does.
And so where are the county commissioners? Why are they not weighing in on this? So they're going to let the firefighters and their situation just collapse in their county, and they don't say anything about it.
Exactly.
And this is some of their legacy. This
Right.
is Brevard County. They are leaving Brevard County Commission with this
By the
legacy.
droves, by the droves. And so we don't say anything about that. You just let this happen. Oh, no. That's Frank Abate. You're the county commissioner.
Exactly.
You're not going to weigh in on it?
Mm-hmm.
You're not going to call him in and rein him in and get this done?
I think that is them weighing in. This is them weighing in.
So
Saying
you
nothing.
think that is their answer?
Yeah, saying nothing is them weighing in.
Yeah, saying nothing.
It's
speaks volumes.
unacceptable.
Well, so that's going to happen tomorrow morning at 10 o'clock. If you have an opportunity, call Frank Abate and tell him you want the firefighters to get what they need to survive in Brevard County. If you don't, you're not going to like the consequences of the kind of care we're going to be getting in this county. Sherwood decision by County Commission coming up September the 5th. We talked about that. And then there's going to be a Titusville City Council meeting on the 27th. What's happening with that still?
Just want to keep an eye on it. We don't have the agenda out yet, but we want to see if that decision gets brought back to the board. We're not sure if it will or not, regarding the Wendover development.
They'll come back around after the
After the
primary
election.
and maybe have a change of heart.
Yeah. So I would keep a really close eye. I've seen more interesting things happen.
This is to my 2 cents. A funny thing happened this past week. Something you would not have seen happen several months ago. Joe Robinson, Dan Diesel, and Sarah Stokel voted against the developers. Imagine that. Up to this point, they have consistently done the opposite. My neighborhood, for example, Wendover Farms, is delusional that they think it was just for us that they did this. They somehow think that Dan Diesel, the guy who walked with Black Lives Matter, a communist organization, they think that he's just doing this for us and he's had a change of heart for us. But Dan hasn't seen a recommendation by staff that he's not willing to abide by. And man, he has not had a change of heart, I don't believe. And is not on the side of the citizens. Not in one period at any time during the 10-year period has he shown that. The people in Wendover sadly have forgotten that it was Dan Diesel that put you in this situation to begin with. And that's my 2 cents. You have a wonderful week, and thank you for joining our podcast. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe our podcast, and we hope to see you again next week when Katie Delaney, hopefully as a result of the citizens, becomes the next nominee for the Republican nomination for County Commission seat District 1. We'll see you next week.